So are progressives, no line bifocals, really that much better than lined bifocals? Around 7 out of 10 people that are buying multifocal glasses pick a progressive over a lined bifocal. Why is that? Well, we're going to go over all the pros and cons of these types of lenses. So if you are in the market for multifocal lenses, this should help you out. Let's focus in. Now, first off, when we're talking about multifocal or varifocal lenses, the idea, the concept, the design is pretty much the same, where the top part of the glasses is designed for your far away distance vision, and then near the bottom of the lens, you have a near power for your near vision. Now, one thing to note about your glasses prescription, over on the side, you're going to see an add power. It usually is annotated in a plus form, maybe a +1 or a +1.5 or a +2. This is the bifocal power or the near power that's usually put on the bottom of your glasses. And the easiest way to think about this is they take your distance prescription and then they add a magnifier over the top of your distance prescription. And you can actually see that in the line bifocals, which we'll get to. They pretty much take your glasses or your distance prescription and just boop, add that bifocal right on top of the distance lens. First, let's go over progressive lenses. What actually makes them the big dog? Why do people mostly pick progressive lenses? The reason why they're called progressives, or PALs, sometimes doctors will use. Like I said, top part of the lenses is for distance, bottom is for near, but it progressively adds and changes the vision the further down you look in the glasses. Meaning that it's a gradual change. It slowly changes into that add power the further down that you look. Now, a lot of people will say, or will call them blended bifocals. Instead of having that line, it blends the power through the lenses. And because it does this, it does have a lot of benefits. So let's go over the pros of this type of lens. The main pro why a lot of people pick this is because there's not a line. People won't know that you're wearing a progressive or a multifocal or a bifocal, and there isn't a distraction for you if there isn't a line. Sometimes when people wear line bifocals, that line can get in the way of the vision and can be disorienting and weird to look at. Also, because this is a gradual change into your near power, it really has multiple different powers that you can look through. And the reason why this is helpful is because if you are looking at something with different distances, then all you need to do is find the spot in your glasses and it will match up that power and that distance perfectly. For example, if you're watching your TV far across the room, you will likely be using the top portion of the glasses. And then if you go to look at your computer, desktop computer that might be arm's length away, you might look through the middle portion of the glasses. And then if you go to look at your phone or read a book that's small print close up, you'll use the bottom portion of the glasses. That's why sometimes doctors or other patients will say, actually, I have a no-line trifocal because it's giving all of the distances that I want, or mainly distance, intermediate, and near. But the truth is, what you're wearing is an infinity focal. It has every possible power for every possible distance that you need. Distance all the way to close up. Anything between intermediate and near and intermediate and distance, it all depends on where you look in the glasses to find that sweet spot. And because this is an infinity focal, one of the main pros is you can have one pair of glasses that does everything. Any possible thing that you can think of that you will look at, a progressive lens will likely be able to work for you. Now, the pros are definitely awesome, but there are some cons to progressive lenses, so let's definitely cover those. Now, one of the cons, though, is that you may have to hunt for that sweet spot in the glasses to make things clear. And this can be weird and sometimes can take a lot of time to get used to. Even for some things as simple as looking at the computer screen, you might have to get used to where you need to look in the glasses. And so you might find yourself or some other people that are just starting off with progressive lenses and they have this head nod kind of thing going on. They're looking at the computer and oh, there we go. And then they'll hold it there. And then maybe they need to look at the distance, and so they'll look through a different part of their glasses and then have to come back and, oh, where's the spot? Oh, there we go. And that can be very annoying for some people and sometimes can take a long time to adapt to. Another con, how it's made, it does end up giving you a little bit of distortion on the sides of the lenses. Now, you can find those sweet spots for distance, intermediate, and near and actually see really clear, but how the lenses are designed to work like that, they end up leaving distortions on the side. And you might be somebody that might notice that. There are a lot of patients that distortion just makes it so they cannot adapt to progressive lenses. Sometimes when they are moving from side to side, the distortion does kind of bend the image or bend the world a little bit, and a lot of people will report that they feel this swimming effect in their glasses because things kind of move almost like water or waves or something like that. And that distortion can be really distracting for a lot of people. And not only that, in the areas of the distortion, the vision is usually not clear no matter where you look at, trying to hunt for the sweet spot. If you are trying to look out the edge of the glasses, and it's usually kind of the bottom edge, that's where the distortion is, it will be very difficult to find a spot that's really clear to look through. And so that leaves the person just pretty much trying to avoid those areas in the lenses. So with progressive, a little tip is that you want to point your nose where you want to look at. Because if you are sitting there and just looking with your eyes, there's a chance that you go out of those sweet spots and look into the distortion areas and the vision will be blurry. And so you kind of have to learn to be able to turn your head and look at what you're seeing so you don't get into the distortion areas. Now with that being said, in the world of progressives, there are many, many different designs and companies that make progressives with different styles and different ways they put the lenses to suit and more customize it towards what you need. If you need more of a sweet spot for computer, then they can give you a bigger sweet spot for the computer. If you need more of a sweet spot, more of an area for near vision, they can make progressive lenses that have a bigger window or bigger sweet spot for your near vision. And so that is a pro that I should have added, is that progressive lenses are definitely more customizable, specific to the person, which is really nice because you can talk with your optician and find out exactly what type of design might work best for you. Now, that being said, progressives have been around for a long time, and there are what we would consider generic progressives. They have a generic design that have been around for years and years and years that you can get pretty affordable anywhere that you go, and sometimes online for a very cheap price. Now, usually in the generic, normal type of progressives, the sweet spots are really small. The window area, viewing area is really narrow, meaning the distortions on the side can be bigger. But nowadays, because we can customize it, there are more digital progressives, digitally made lenses. They can make that sweet spot and window area a lot bigger, make it so you can look and adapt to it a lot easier, and make the distortion in the periphery on the sides a lot less and a lot less noticeable. But that comes with a cost, where they can be expensive. Progressive lenses are definitely the most expensive type of lenses that you can get, especially when you add on transitions or anti-reflective coating, or maybe a blue block type of coating, or any type of that, or a tint or a sunglass. But by doing a progressive, and if you choose a customized digital type of progressive lens, you can likely get away with one lens, one type of glasses, one set of glasses that can do everything that you want, can have a large enough sweet spot and viewing area, less distortion, that you can adapt to them pretty fast and can work really, really well. And that's one of the biggest reasons why more people choose progressives over anything else. Now, talking about pros and cons of lined bifocals. Don't sleep on bifocals, because they do have their place and can be pretty nice. For one, these are considered an instant focus or instant spot focus type of lens, meaning you know where you're looking. You know you're looking through the distance when you look through the top, and because the line is there, you know where you're looking for the near vision. There is not any hunting for a sweet spot. The whole lens on the top is the sweet spot, and the whole area on the bottom is the sweet spot for near. Super nice and easy to adapt to. And when I say easy, I should say easier to adapt to than progressives usually. There still is definitely an adaptation phase of learning how to use the glasses, but because that line is there and the sweet spots are big, usually easier. There is no peripheral distortion like you get with progressives, so you can look out the sides of your lenses and the vision will be clear. And definitely bifocals are usually less expensive and can be quite a bit less expensive than progressives. Now, cons. Yeah, the biggest con there is the line, because other people can see the line. So there is that type of look to a bifocal, but some people actually like having the line there. It doesn't bother them at all. In fact, they like it. So it really depends on the person here, but the line can be a con. Now, because of that line, you do get an instant jump of focus from your distance to your near vision. There's not a blended or a progressive change in power, there's an instant jump. And sometimes you will get that image jump moving between the two zones. This can be extremely difficult when you're walking up and down stairs and you're trying to look at the stairs to see where they're at and trying to time your feet and everything. That can be really hard with depth perception as well, or if you're looking at a railing and you go to reach out for it, if you're looking right where that line is, that railing might be off a little bit, and so you're not sure exactly where to reach for. That image jump can be disorienting and drive people crazy. The other thing, when we're talking about aligned bifocal, we're talking about two focal distances, two focus areas that you're looking through. That means you have distance and you have near and nothing else in between. There aren't any sweet spots or areas that you can look through the glasses that might make the computer arm's length better or dashboard better or anything like that. You will have to adjust yourself to the distance, meaning if you're looking at the computer, you either have to sit back really far and look through your distance pair or distance power on the top of the glasses, or you have to sit really close and then hit your head up and look through the bifocal part to see your screen okay. And so you kind of have to get used to adjusting the distances, especially if you're trying to look at something up close or if someone's trying to show you something, you have to find that perfect distance. So instead of hunting for the sweet spot in your glasses, you're hunting for the sweet distance in the bifocals. Now that being said, you can get a trifocal, which is a bifocal with another little segment that's above the bifocal that's usually set for intermediate distances. So you can look through that little segment of the trifocal and have a clear focal point for your computer or your dashboard, which a lot of people choose to do if you are working on the computer a lot during the day and you need some type of viewing that way. Now bifocals can somewhat be customizable, meaning that you can put the line anywhere you want on your glasses. If you want it really high, you can put it up there. If you want it really low, kind of out of the way and only look through the bifocal when you need it, you can do that as well. So there is some customizability to bifocals, but maybe not as much compared to progressives. And there's some other types of customizations you kind of can do with a bifocal. There is something called a round bifocal, and so instead of having a line, you can have a round segment that's down there that maybe people will get used to that a little bit easier, do better with that. You can also have some glasses where you can put the bifocal on the top, or have a double bifocal where you have bifocal on the top, bifocal on the bottom. This is great for people that are maybe looking up, maybe electricians or airplane engineers or whatever the need might be, so they don't have to really crink their neck back to look through the bifocal part. And so there are different ways and different types of lenses and customizability that you can do with bifocal glasses. Now, one thing to note, bifocals can be a little bit better for people that might be having a little bit of vision issues or low vision, maybe macular degeneration, allowing to have that line bifocal so they know exactly where to look, and you can set that bifocal power to whatever power you need, meaning that you can make it a lot stronger, that magnification a lot stronger, if they are trying to read a little bit better. They might have to hold it a little bit closer, but sometimes it's a little bit more user-friendly in that area. So when it comes down to it, statistics with progressives versus bifocal, about 45% of the people that buy progressives state that they bought the progressives out of convenience, meaning they have one pair of glasses that can do anything that they need to. They will just kind of learn how to look through the sweet spots and get used to the distortion, the peripheral distortion. And then maybe about 25% of those people that bought progressives bought it for the aesthetic appeal, meaning they don't have a line there that people are seeing and the line isn't in their vision or anything like that. So progressives really can be great and beneficial, and most people will do well with progressives, but line bifocals definitely have their spot. They can shine in certain areas, and you definitely don't want to sleep on bifocals. I think it's at least worth looking into depending on what you're doing. And that's exactly what it comes down to. You want to talk with your optician, know what you're doing as a job, for your hobby, what kind of visual demands that you need and want out of your glasses, and by doing that, they should be able to come up with the best option for you. So I hope this rundown helped. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try my best to answer them down there. But yeah, if you're going to go out and buy some glasses, what would you pick? Progressive, line bifocal, or what have you done and what do you wear right now? I'd be curious to hear it in the comments. Stay focused.